This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Braintree Payments. Mobile app development can be complex, but integrating your payments no longer has to be. With Braintree, your business can accept nearly every type of payment from any device with just one integration. Learn more at braintreepayments.com/whatthetech. And by Harry's. For guys who want a great shave experience for a fraction of what you're paying now, go to harrys.com. And now Harry's is offering a free trial set. Just pay the shipping by using the code WhatTheTech at checkout.
What the tech?
Everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, the man behind Thurrott.com, Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. We did a thing on Mat Men where the viewers had to come up with like what our fans are called, and they started this whole thing about the Mennonites.
All right.
What would Paul Thurrott readers and fans be called?
Did you say Mennonites?
Mennonites, because the show's name is Mat Men.
Right.
So
like Mennonites, like
the Mennonites.
Because Mennonites, is Mennonites a thing?
I thought a Mennonite is a thing. A Mennonite is
Just happened.
aren't they Protestants?
Mennonites.
Yeah, the church. Yeah, they're like Protestants, right?
No. See, this goes back to a joke. Well, actually, it says it is. Oh.
Yeah, who are we? The Mennonite Church of USA.
Nice. Oh, that I've misremembered a joke from the past.
Yeah. They're like Amish. There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mennonites, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like Amish. So our viewers are now called the Mennonites. We need one for Thurrott. They
Sure.
need to be called like
the birthers,
yeah,
the truthers.
the Thurrotties. Paul Thurrotti Giamatti. Guys, I'm so excited to do the show today. And the reason why is because you put out like a series of articles on Thurrott.com the last like couple days. And I have to tell you, every single article, like I read Thurrott.com every day, but sometimes like you got like 4 or 5 stories that's like exactly what I need to read. And it was absolutely perfect. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to cover today is on Thurrott.com, and you guys can follow along on Thurrott.com with me. I know you're traveling next week, so I want to get as much in as possible. You're not feeling well. I want to get as much in as quickly as possible because
All right.
These topics
We'll do speed dating.
A speed dating episode of What the Tech. Before we go into it, guys, I want to take a moment and talk about our sponsor, and that's Braintree. Why make mobile payments? Why we're trying? Yeah. Why make mobile payments a difficult thing for your developer and for your company and for your website? If you're accepting mobile payments and you've been doing this for a while, you know the hassle it is every time there's a new payment method out there. Whether it's Apple Pay, Bitcoin, Android Pay, Samsung Pay, there's 5,000 different payment solutions out there. And you know what? Your customers want to pay in the way that they want to pay. And it's a pain for you because you have to now go back, find how to implement the service in there, how to do it. The great thing about Braintree is that it accepts nearly every type of payment. It's a couple lines of code. It's super easy for your developer. Braintree Code supports Android, iOS, JavaScript clients, the SDKs in many languages, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby. Doesn't matter. These guys know what they're doing, and it's super easy. The thing that I love about Braintree is that it is super secure. If it's based on a token system, so when people pay you for your service, for your product, you don't hold on to credit card information. It just authenticates it, and you're good. You don't have to worry about vulnerabilities. These credit card vulnerabilities happening. It's unbelievable what these guys have done, and they're a PayPal company. To learn more about Braintree, go to braintreepayments.com/whatthetech. And guys, if you're a developer or if you're a business owner and you have implemented Braintree, let us know. We love your stories. I get emails from you guys all the time talking about Braintree and how you've implemented it into your website and how you've implemented it into your service. And it's awesome to see. A couple of the guys at the last meetup came up and go, I was not sure about Braintree. I had no idea what they were. And then you started talking about it more and more. And I looked into it, and the guy's obviously a developer, and he goes, I started using this for all my clients, and it's so easy for me. It saves me hours of work. BraintreePayments.com/whatthetech. I want to thank Braintree for supporting the show, for, of course, supporting the GFQ network. Paul,
Yes.
I don't know if you have the notes in front of you.
do.
So let's see what we could begin with here. I want to talk about this, about Windows 10, because last night, or the night before, actually yesterday during my show, 2 of my Skype machines rebooted because there was a Windows update that it had to do at that very moment, and it went to anniversary update. Now I thought I still had to manually do this. I guess that is not the case.
What do you mean?
I had to manually select, to do anniversary update. It wasn't part of the Windows update thing on any of my machines.
Right, but that doesn't mean it won't be over time.
So I guess now it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday, all my machines updated to anniversary.
Okay. Yeah, for whatever reason.
For whatever reason, I guess that was the day that it decided it's going to do it. And it's an interesting. So you posted that 1/3 of Windows 10 users have now installed anniversary. I'm assuming that this number is going to be higher now. Because it seems like it was pushed to people yesterday and the day before.
Well, no. So I think you're misunderstanding what you're seeing.
Okay, what am I seeing?
Well, I mean, you're seeing it. That's just because for whatever reason, your computers have passed some bar. I mean, it's not like some new round of updates went out. Like it's happening over time. It will happen to everybody over time. It's just that, they're sending it out to the known good configurations first.
Okay. That's
so
interesting.
It's just whatever reason you happen to get it. It's not something.
I didn't know that it was phased out like this. It was in slow patch. I thought it was going to hit the Windows Update store, I guess, Windows Update, and it would just do it for everybody at the same time.
No.
Okay.
They're staging it. So
I guess I got it yesterday.
Yeah.
So you were looking at a pretty nice chunk of users. When you're talking about Windows 10 desktop version, 34%.
34.5, so roughly 1/3. But still, you got to remember, we're almost 2 months into this. This is a slow rollout. If it were to proceed at this same speed, we would need 4 more months, right? So there'd be a 6-month rollout. I don't think that was the original plan, right? I mean, I do know that staging it was always the original plan, but I think it's gone a little more slowly. Maybe
the staging process of this. Obviously there's multiple reasons, but the main reason was what? To stage it in this slow rollout.
For reliability, right? So Microsoft gets a lot of, feedback from its users and from those PCs that they use in a variety of ways. They have telemetry data that they get automatically from the system. They get support calls, obviously. They have support forums where people are freaking out when there are problems. And what they do is they basically have a database of known good configurations. And so it makes sense to only automatically roll out a big update like this, because this is really a new version of Windows, right? They don't advertise it that way, but it really is a major new version of Windows. And the upgrade you're doing is that serious. You want it to go out to the people who are going to have a good experience first, and you stage it that way. And as they get more feedback, as more people successfully or unsuccessfully perform that upgrade, that database of known good configurations evolves, and more systems are brought online, and some are taken off, right? Like the people who had the webcam issue. Those people were almost certainly taken off that list very quickly. People who connected Kindles to their computers were taken off that list because those things were problems. And I think those problems are what has led to the schedule being stretched out a little bit, because I don't think Microsoft expected those problems.
So
right?
I'm already experiencing one little problem on one of the machines that it upgraded to.
Okay.
One of my gateways here, and they're older machines. They're just used for Skype. I don't do anything on, just leave them there, and they just call Paul or whoever else. One of them now, because I have two things connected to the video card. One is my monitor, my regular monitor. The other one is the HDMI that I use to bring Paul's video in. Windows now, when it reboots, thinks that the HDMI is monitor 1, so I just get a black screen every time when it's booting. And it gets confused, and it flips my monitor. Like, monitor 1 becomes monitor 2, monitor 2 becomes monitor 1 every single time I reboot the machine.
Wow.
So, I don't know. Something weird must have happened. Something got confused, so now I got to figure out, maybe I got to reinstall the drivers here. But I'm interested to see if, the more they roll this out, the more little problems we see come up, because we did see what happened with the webcam stuff. There have been little issues here and there, but overall, this has been a positive rollout, right?
It's hard to say, right? So I think on the one hand, you could make the argument, and I have, that their process is working in the sense that they've reacted to things accordingly, right? And so the slow, measured rollout is on purpose. There have been some problems, so they've been able to ensure that people with those configurations aren't going to have that problem, by taking them out of the known good list or whatever, however it's organized. But on the other hand, you have to kind of wonder, with all of the testing that goes on with Windows 10 these days, with the several million people that are in the Windows Insider program, how are these things not, caught ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I think on the one hand, the overall process is sound, but I also think they're going to be reacting to what happened this time to ensure that maybe for the next release it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
These kinds of problems.
By the way, I am getting a lot of messages from people right now on
Yeah.
on Facebook and in the chat room, and they're saying that they also got this update yesterday.
Okay.
So maybe there was a big push. Maybe there was some big push yesterday. I don't know, but maybe they saw that data that you posted, Paul, on your website, and they said, "Oh man, we got to push this a little harder." But you know what? 34%. That's, remember, this is a new operating system. It's not like it's another version of Windows. So 34% in 2 months. Okay.
Yes. I mean, right. I mean, you could, right. If you paint it in a certain way, I think it's fair to say this in some ways hasn't happened in the past. Although, there's all these qualifiers and this kind of thing. It is a major new version of Windows, but Windows 10 just came out last year. So to people using it, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people install this don't kind of understand the magnitude of the upgrade that's occurring here. Because when you come up and write, it's still called Windows 10. It kind of looks the same. It's not like major UI changes have occurred.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
it's hard to say.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because this is I always like when you post these numbers, and the Windows Phone, Windows 10 Mobile, however, saw an 82.4%. It's 82.4% of all Windows Phone users running Windows 10 Mobile are now on 1607. So that is the 45 people, Paul?
Yeah. I mean, phones are a different situation, right? Regardless of the popularity of Windows Phone. There aren't a lot of different configurations. So the issue there is the wireless carriers. And so when you see a big jump in those numbers, it's because wireless carriers have said, okay, fine.
Interesting. Very cool. I like this. So this is the first thing I want to go to, but I want to talk about the stats, because if I don't, then people are going to say the first thing you went to was an Apple story. You did a interesting first hands-on Thurrott.com, and I'm going to pull this up on the website here so people could follow along, because this is a visual thing. Okay. And you did a first on hand with the iPhone 7 Plus portrait mode. And interesting, you said it disappoints. Couple questions. How did you get this is on the beta. This is beta 1 of iOS 10.1, right?
Mm-hmm.
How? What?
Why?
Okay, why? How? I don't. Okay, so let's start off. What did you notice immediately? I mean, you are like me, and the camera is a major thing for you when it comes to having a phone. It's probably the make or break for me. I know for a lot of people it's not, and a lot of people it is. But as someone that takes, a lot of pictures, I go out and I snap photos, and I'm on this kick to not use a DSLR. I want to do as much as I can when I'm going away, and with this phone, not this phone. This is a Windows phone. I'm not doing anything with this phone. With my phone, so this probably would be the thing for me, that pushes me to buy an iPhone. But you were saying it disappoints, so I want to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, when Apple introduced these phones a couple weeks back, watching the presentation, you'll recall that I kind of joked along to a lot of it. I suspect if you were to go back and look at my Twitter stream from that day, the one part I didn't make fun of or joke about was the phone. That was the camera stuff. I care deeply about this stuff because, I use these things as cameras. I don't have cameras anymore. We go on vacation and, dating back to 2013 when the Lumia 1020 came out, I take pictures of my smartphone on vacation. You know, we go to Europe every summer for home swap, and my vacation photos, you've seen them, are great. You know, it's always been great. But you know, you're always, you know, you want to make up that gap between the phone and like a DSLR, or maybe like a, you know, like a point and click kind of camera. There were two. Well, the thing that struck me most, the thing I was sort of most interested in at the announcement was the 2x optical zoom. I don't know. This is almost certainly not the first time any smartphone has had optical zoom, but it's the first time like a mainstream, very popular.
Yeah, I think Huawei has done it, and another Chinese manufacturer of Android phones has done it, but it's never gotten mainstream. I think maybe LG. LG does it now too, possibly.
Like I said, I don't know, but this is the first one I've used, and so, you know, the last point and click that I had, in fact, the last 2 or 3 models had incredible optical zoom, and by incredible I mean 24x, 28x, maybe, you know, really like spy cam quality. Like you could be on the top of a church in Europe looking down at the people on the ground, and you could, you know, make out their faces. Like it's incredible. Or look, you know, at a building across a cityscape and see people inside the building or whatever. 2x optical zoom is not going to do that, right? So, you know, the iPhone 7 Plus has 2 cameras. It has what Apple calls a telephoto lens, which is really just a normal lens. And then they have a wide angle lens. And the telephoto lens is the 2x, it's really just a 2x. No, I don't know what to call it. It's not telephoto. It's just a normal depth, kind of like a normal lens. It uses the 2 cameras in tandem to create most pictures. When you go to, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So there are some benefits to that, right? And combining the 2 cameras to make one picture. It's you know, it's got HDR capabilities. Obviously, it's got optical image stabilization. Obviously, the apertures are bigger, more light, better pictures, better low quality. Better low light photos. You know, supposedly, I haven't tested that a lot, but a lot of things that are kind of interesting. And so, I guess the point is, for as interesting as 2 cameras is, as interesting as 2x optical zoom is, these are actually very small steps, right? Yeah. They're important steps, but they're just steps to a road, like down a road, like where in the future we will have 4x and 6x optical zoom and 12x someday, and that will, you know, things will start to head in that direction. So I'm very excited about that, but I recognize this is a baby step to the future.
Sure.
But they showed off this feature called portrait mode, and they said, look, this is not going to be in the initial release. We'll ship it later in the year via software update. We now know that software update is called iOS 10.1. And it, you know, as its name suggests, it's I don't have any pictures of actual people, but, you know, the idea is your wife and child are standing in front of a tree, and you take a photo of them, and they're really clear, and you get that kind of bokeh effect where the tree and everything behind them is blurred out.
So I mean, the picture I have here right now, this is an example of the aperture, right? This is an example.
It's actually an example. It's also an example of the camera app, right? Because that's a screenshot of me taking the photo. Okay. Right, so you can see the camera UI in there. That's what it looks like.
So portrait mode, it's its own separate feature. So you have video, photo, portrait, square.
So here's the thing: 3 years ago, when Nokia at the time came out with the Lumia 1020, this was like a 41 megapixel camera. It had incredible optics. You would get this kind of bokeh effect automatically. Yeah. If you turn towards something, it wouldn't matter if it was something really close like this microphone or something like the screen that you can't see over here. By focusing on it, by, you know, tapping on the screen, it would automatically kind of bokeh the rest of it. That's because that's such.
The picture below on the website, is that the Lumia 1020 photo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is a good example of Lumia 1020 doing a bokeh effect.
Right. So in other words, I held the camera up. There was a big bumblebee under the leaf. I tapped on the screen where the bumblebee was to focus on the bumblebee, and the stuff that's around it in the background. There's actually a person standing there doing something in a garden. There's a building behind them, and then there are other plants and things. It's a garden. You got that effect automatically. Now, this zoomed in thing, zoomed in is really the wrong term, because what that is
cropped.
That photo shown on my screen at 100% resolution. What you can't get in this 1280 by 720 miniaturization is the fact that you can see every single hair on that bee's body. You can see the little fibrous membranes in its wings. You know, you can see the glint in its eye. The quality of this camera, especially 3 years ago, was insanity.
Yeah.
You know, and I then went on to, like I said, I took photographs all summer, on vacation with that camera. It was incredible.
So was it the lens of the camera, or was it the
Yes.
actual
Yeah, the
processing
lens,
that
right?
it did?
Well, so here's the thing. So the Lumia 1020, and actually all Windows phones, because Microsoft / Nokia never advanced this part of it. They wanted to, but there's no real hardware backed anything, like no coprocessor for the camera. There was no real dedicated, Nokia had to kind of do its own thing, but the processing was all software. So when you took a photo with that thing, a gigantic 41 megapixel photo, which was really, I don't know, 26 meg, whatever it was, really written to disk, it took a long time to write to disk, right? So you would take the photo. If you moved around really quick and something was happening, you took a photo, it'd probably be blurry, right? You have to, you had to work within the confines of the hardware that surrounded the camera. That was one of the problems, and is still one of the problems with Windows Phone. Apple has gone a different way. Apple obviously controls the platform. They can do different things with the camera hardware that Nokia never could do because they didn't own the platform. And over time, I would say probably the iPhone 5 or 5S, certainly the 5, and newer. You could walk up to a bee or a grasshopper or something with an iPhone and focus on the grasshopper, and you'll actually get that blurry effect. It's not bad. It's not bad. And it does a pretty good job of that. All iPhones do this. All modern phone, your phone will do this. Your Samsung will do this. You'll see this effect. It's cool. It lends it a certain, it's nice. Portrait mode is different. Portrait mode. See, actually, just to bring it back to the Lumia 1020 offered the way to do that natively, but you could also do it in post processing, right? There's a lot of software that does this, but Nokia's was called, I think it was called Lumia Creative Studio. And it was basically what you would do is look at a photo and say, well, I want this thing in the middle to be focused, but I want the rest of it to be blurred. And it's a way to apply this effect artificially after the fact.
Yeah.
But anyone who's used Photoshop knows that if you try to select a person in a photo, especially if it's complex with trees and branches and leaves and things in the background, whatever it might be, other people, you're going to miss little bits. And so what you'll find is that a tree branch in the back won't be blurred. It will be just as focused as the thing in the front, or vice versa. Like the guy's arm will be blurred because the thing thinks it's a tree branch. And that's what this Apple thing does. And so I'm a little confused by it now. When I saw the quality of the photos they showed on stage, I was thinking, oh, this is really interesting. But then you use it and you find out more about how it works, and you realize this thing's probably never going to be that great.
Yeah, so here's a good example right here. I mean, here's a great example of this. So the back is super blurred. The front is focused in.
So it looks good, right? That looks good.
good.
But here's the thing. Before you go to the next one, the thing to think about there is, like what are these photos aimed at? Like, what's the point of this? This is okay for Instagram, right? For sharing on social media online, because it's quick. People are going to forget about it. You're not going to zoom in all the way. Now, if you go down to the next one, though, what you'll see, and this is actually one of the least bad examples. Now you understand the software-based thing that's occurring here.
Yeah.
It's not a sharp edge. It almost looks like a motion blur to me. It looks like
it does look like a motion
emanating off the top of the cup. But what it really is, it can't be heat because there's ice coffee in there. But what it really is it's just a bleed through occurring because it's a software-based rendering.
So this is all software-based. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And here's how, I should say too, when you use this mode, you get two copies of the photo. You get the one that's blurred that you see there, which is the one you would share, and is the reason you're using this, because you put it in this mode. But you also get the normal version where the background's just as crisp and clear as you would expect. Yeah. So the problem
I
is,
thought there was some sort of optical.
I did too, and it's not. So here's how it really
depth
works.
of field happening.
It only uses one of the two cameras. It uses what Apple calls a telephoto lens. It's not a telephoto lens, but what it really is it's 2x optical zoom. It's just locked to 2x.
Okay.
And so if you think about, like, if you were using the camera normally and you switch between 1x and 2x, all it really does is kind of it sort of zooms in a little bit.
Okay.
So because it's like a a telephoto lens, you have to be far away from it. So you could never take a picture of a bug with this thing and have it make any sense because you can't get right up on it. You have to be like 8 feet away from the subject for it to work properly. It is terrible in low light. The low light capabilities of the new iPhone are from the wide angle thing, not from this telephoto lens. And when you take pictures inside, especially at night with artificial lights in the house, the graininess is off the charts. Like, it's really bad.
Here is another. So is that an example of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the front of the Surface Book,
Yeah, that's terrible.
it's awful.
So this is just lights. First of all, you put ice in your wine. I'm a little disappointed.
I was waiting for someone to call me up.
Two. Jesus, Paul, can you get your act together?
Listen, as I had to explain to your wife, every time I make fun of you for wine, I'm really just being a hypocrite.
So this is with the 2x optical?
Well, no. So I mean, this is with that mode. So
yes. this is the portrait mode in normal conditions.
Yep. Yep.
Wow, that's bad.
These were so crappy. I was testing this last night. I think I installed this late in the day. I wanted to try it. Obviously, I'm very excited about this. I couldn't get any of the pictures to come out good, so I thought, well, okay, I'll go outside this morning. It's beautiful. It's sunny. I went outside. Those pictures that I put on the site are actually the highest quality ones I took.
Yeah.
If I'm out in direct sunlight, it's all washed out. It looks terrible.
So there was a lot of. I mean, it's not like there was some there was some evaluation that was needed. It's not like, okay, I'm going to do this. Boom. Okay, done. You actually have to kind of.
No. And I'm not done. And by the way, for whatever it's worth,
this is still beta.
It's beta 1.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it could get better. But I still, here's the problem. I don't care if you're talking about a cup, which is a very hard-edged, well-defined object, that should be 100% every time, or a human being, a woman holding a child like they showed in the demo, or whatever it is. Who cares? Whatever you're taking that's in the foreground. There's always going to be problems. There's no way for it to be perfect. Anyone who, like I said, if you've used Photoshop or any post-processing tool to do a fake bokeh effect on any photo, there's always going to be blurry edges, wrong edges, and you can't fix it. And I didn't, when they announced this, I didn't understand that that's what this was. I thought they were kind of harnessing the power of the two cameras to say, look, all phones kind of do bokeh effect, but we're going to do it awesome. We're going to have a special mode. Like when you want to drive this thing home, we're going to let you do this portrait mode thing. I thought this sounds kind of cool. And then you use it and it's like, oh boy, like this is only going to work properly, I think, in certain conditions.
Yeah. Like I'm looking here at this picture and this kind of looks cool. And then you got a little closer look and you see.
And here you see the problem. So think about what you're looking at here. This is a bunch of plants in a pot and there's a fence in the background. You can barely see there. But because it's kind of a thick amount of foliage, and so some of the leaves and branches are a little bit closer than some of the other ones, and you could even see how on an individual, I don't know what to call it, like a branch or a strand or whatever, part of it blurs out and comes back because maybe it curves a little bit in space, right? So, I mean, the way that the camera works is the photo itself is only taken, like I said, with the telephoto lens, but I guess they use the wide angle lens to do blurring in stages as you go back further. But you can tell from this, like, it's very hard edged. I mean, to me, that looks like there might be 3 levels of blurriness at best. Like it pretty much goes,
we had questioned why Apple didn't release this with their latest phone and such a major feature for photography. Why wouldn't they release this? Now we know why. This is not ready.
It's not ready. And by the way, that's fine. I don't care about that stuff. I mean,
and most likely, most likely this thing will look much better when, we're at the end of this beta.
I guess what I'm saying is it could only get better.
Yeah.
B, something like this color. I don't know. Maybe there's something about the color red in front of the color green where that is especially, difficult on camera optics. I don't know. But it seems like a hard-edged object should be the easiest thing to bokeh because you don't have to worry about variances and it's very straight, and it really kind of muffed that. And those photos they showed on screen that day, those absolutely did not happen. That was not an iPhone 7.
You know what? I'm willing to bet it was, but it was on a tripod. Number one, all those photos.
Yeah, absolutely, it was on a tripod.
Okay, so Number two, it had probably perfect lighting conditions,
Yep.
and they had, then they probably, well, they said there was no editing done to the photo. You know what? It's quite possible those were done with that camera. I fully believe that they did do it. I don't believe
Okay, I look.
that it's everyday, scenarios.
It's not the build they sent us.
No.
Of the software. It's I don't know. Anyway, I guess my point is the iPhone 7 Plus cameras are a step up from what came before. There's no doubt about it. Whether they are better than, say, the best that Samsung has to offer is for other people to decide. I don't believe that's the case, but let's say they're in the same ballpark. The things that are, I think, the bigger deals looking to the future are the introduction of optical zoom, and then obviously optical image stabilization, which they had last year in the Plus, and other cameras have had for years and years, I know. But I think that stuff matters more day to day, and then we'll see that improve over time. Like, next year will be 4X or something, or I'm sure that's how it will go.
How is the camera in low light in general?
See, that I haven't tested that. That's not fair. Actually, I have. It hasn't been notable to me. You just reminded me. I've taken a lot of restaurant shots.
You are becoming an Instagrammer.
It's weird. Yeah,
I told my friend Dara that you're coming after her job.
Yeah, watch out! I'm gunning for her.
Yeah.
No, what I am doing though is becoming like a Google local guide. So I've been reviewing restaurants and things. So the low light stuff. I'm just trying to find some that are representative. I haven't noticed. I guess the point is I haven't noticed a big advantage, so far.
Yeah.
To be clear, I do not use a flash.
Okay.
But that's consistent because I've never used a flash, and so, as far as comparing it to what I did in the past, it's. I don't see anything great. I took pictures of a fire at night, like a campfire kind of thing, that aren't particularly good. I've taken pictures in restaurants, like I said. I'm looking at. I don't know. I don't think of these as particularly good.
Yeah, interesting. No, I thought that this is like a real nice detailed photo, and it's interesting to see how it works and what it's doing. Very, very interesting to see that. I'm glad you did this because it really answered a lot of the questions that I have and a lot of other people, because this is a major point for anybody that's moderately into photography or they're trying to get into photography. This is a great way to get in.
I mentioned, I think it was TechCrunch. The guy from TechCrunch took some pictures of his wife and daughter, actually. And one of the pictures, if you kind of picture his daughter walking away from him and her hand is on her hip, the background around the daughter is blurred out, and the daughter, seen from the back, is focused. But the triangle of empty space that's caused by her arm, right? So you get this empty space in the arm, it's all clear, right? So you see the limitations of software-based bokeh. They're doing an outline, and so if there are gaps, it's not doing it right.
Yeah.
And
when you do it in Photoshop, at least you're manually picking the outline. This is assuming it's doing its best, whatever the algorithm is to determine what's.
It will have to do it automatically.
Yeah. Interesting.
And right now it's not.
Yeah.
It can only get better.
And guys, if you're listening to the podcast, go to Thurrott.com. He has it right there on the front page right now. The first hands-on with the iPhone 7 Plus portrait mode. You can go there and check it out. I thought it was really cool.
I had a couple of guys who are not happy that I wrote this up.
They're not, really.
It's a little harsh for like a first beta.
I mean,
it's like, a little harsh. Okay. I mean, it is what it is. I'm just saying this is what it is.
But the cool thing is, here's the thing. It's a first beta, second beta, and third beta. You could write another one and say, look at the improvements.
Yeah.
That's the beauty in, writing. You could always revise and you could always add.
Right. Well, the beauty in software is it only gets better.
It only gets better, yeah. Very cool. Guys, I want to take a moment and talk about our sponsor, and that's Harry's. Paul uses a Harry's razor. I use a Harry's razor. I'm really glad that Paul introduced me to the new handle that they have and the new thinner blades, because if he hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have asked Harry's to send me one, and I would not have experienced what a great thing this is. They also have a great promotion now. Things are a little different here. They are giving away a free trial set. All you have to do is pay the shipping by using the code WhatTheTech at checkout. But they are doing a free trial set if you sign up for their subscription service, their Harry's service. They're so confident you will love the quality. They'll send you one of their popular free trial sets, which comes with a razor, 5-blade cartridge, and shaving gel. Free when you sign up for their shave plan. All you do is pay the shipping. Plus, there is a special offer for the fans of the show. Enter in What the Tech at checkout, and you get the post-shave balm added to your order for free. These guys are really stepping up the game when it comes to shaving. The quality of the blades are great. You're still paying $2 per blade compared to $4, at the drugstore. You don't. I mean, they really going to the drugstore to buy these blades and a razor. It's become this entire ordeal where you're waiting and someone has to come with keys and open it up. It's crazy. They're treating you like a criminal just to buy razors. You don't have that problem with Harry's. They ship it to your door. It shows up there. And it's amazing, and the quality is great. Almost everybody in my family now shaves with a Harry's razor. My father, I got it for him for Father's Day because I got the Father's Day set for him. I got it for just his grandfather for his birthday just last week. And I've been using a Harry's razor for, who knows how long at this point. Harrys.com. Use the coupon code WhatTheTech. You could claim your free trial set and post-shave balm when you use the coupon code WhatTheTech at checkout. I want to thank Harry's for supporting the show and for, of course, supporting the GFQ network. Paul, what do you know about the new Pixel phone?
Well, what the rumors are. Would you like to know what that is?
Yes, I would like to know what that is.
Well, I don't know why they're changing the name. I expect they're going to explain that at the announcement, because in the past, Pixel has come to mean Google designed. I mean, they don't actually build the products, right? But Google designed. And so, the Pixel Chromebooks, which were the first, the more recent Pixel C 2-in-1 Android tablet, Google designed. And so Google has said in the past that they want to be more involved with the design of the Nexus phones. And maybe this is some kind of a line where they feel like, they've been more involved than they were in the past. But the two new phones that are going to be announced next month look to mimic what we see today with the 5X and the 6P, except it'll be called the Google Pixel and the Google Pixel XL or whatever.
Yeah.
5 inches, 5.5 inches.
Right way to do it.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be more expensive if those rumors are correct, and that bothers me.
Really?
Because the big appeal of the Nexus line to me was, well, two big things, obviously clean Android, but the other one was just the pricing. I go back to the Nexus 4 in particular, the Nexus 5, also the two Nexus 7 tablets. Incredible devices for the prices. The Nexus 6 and the Nexus 9 is where they screwed all that up, and those two devices were terrible. Last year, the Nexus 6P and the 5X came in a little under the previous devices, but a little over, the classic devices from the past. So it looks like, again, this is just rumors, but I think the prices might be going up again.
Did you see the leaked photos of it?
Yeah.
It looks just like an iPhone.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, they do the fingerprint reader on the back, which has its pros and cons, but the 5X and 6P versions work great, and I expect these to be just as good as those, obviously. I'm interested in the cameras. I'm interested in, the materials they're going to use, the colors and all that kind of stuff. But man, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford all this stuff. I mean, there's so much. This happens every fall, but I got to figure something out for this stuff. I just can't keep, I can't buy 13 new phones every fall. So I'm not sure I'm going to handle this quite yet.
It's too much. Yeah, it's too much to buy. I'm curious to see. The Nexus name was not a bad name.
Yeah, I would say that brands are funny because some of them hit and some of them don't. But Nexus or Pixel, whatever, I don't think either one of those brands has any resonance at all with consumers. So I don't quite understand the importance of it, other than maybe Google signaling to its biggest fans that this is something we did, even though HTC is actually going to be making the device.
HTC is making it,
yeah.
Yeah. And interesting, not a lot of information about cameras with this. The camera on the 6P was pretty good. And
It's excellent. I mean, I didn't, when we went on vacation this year, it was a shorter trip, because of our time constraints. My expectation was I would take the vacation photos with the iPhone, but Google Fi Project Fi turned on 4G LTE access in Europe or everywhere internationally, and so I ended up using that out in the world. And at the first couple of days, I brought both devices because I was thinking, well, I can take pictures with the iPhone and then I'll just use the other phone for connectivity. But obviously, it's better if you could do everything from one thing. The pictures I took in Paris this year, I actually think are some of the best pictures I've ever taken with a smartphone, especially the night shots. You were talking about low light earlier.
Yeah.
The night pictures, you probably remember some of them from Paris this year. They take pictures of cafes from across the street or whatever. They were unbelievable. I mean, they're just beautiful. So I think they're up there. I think they're in the, they're up in the top 5 somewhere.
Yeah, I think the cool part of this about the Pixel is that it's going to run Android 7.1, so you're getting the latest and the greatest. And this looks like it's, this is a premium phone. This is even though it's a little plasticky, but it seems like it's going to be a premium phone. I'm curious to see what the specs are going to be. We'll find out in 2 weeks, right? We'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yep, it's coming up.
Yeah.
Other devices too, by the way. We should mention they're almost certainly going to release a 4K Chromecast, which I'm very curious about. That Google Home device may get another public showing. I don't know if it's launching in November or whatever, but their version of that Google Alexa. The Amazon Echo / Alexa stuff. Then there's a Daydream VR thing coming too.
So what about their Nexus TV?
I haven't heard of. I think Chromecast is the one thing that's hit for them in the living room. I think they're just going to run.
It's it's dead. It's discontinued. So this is it.
Yeah, the Nexus player is dead.
Yeah.
I hope what I'd like to see is when you go 4K on a Chromecast, it's it makes sense that this thing would be a little beefier and more expensive than the regular Chromecast.
Yeah.
I think a Chromecast goes like $35. So imagine if they sold this thing for $100. It was 4K. And it had a remote,
It'd be amazing.
That would be fantastic. There's your living room solution.
Yeah, you don't need anything else, really.
Yeah, I think that would work out well.
Yeah, because think about it. When the Chromecast came out, the Fire TV, those sticks were not really a thing. The Roku stick, I don't know if it came out at the same time, but the Roku stick was terrible. That first Roku stick.
The first one.
And it's still not so great. But Amazon,
actually, that's true. Yeah, the Fire one was very good.
The Fire one was very good, and the newer one is even better. But you don't really need a big box. I did not use my Chromecast for years. Okay, just sat unopened in a box, and I just started using it, and man, it is great. It really works really well. I cast from my phone. It uses virtually no battery, and I watch my Japanese wrestling on there because that's
it really doesn't use any battery because you're just handing it off. It's not like you're streaming from your phone the whole time. The technology is pretty sound. I have 3 or maybe even 4 Chromecast audio devices around the house at different speakers. You can do multi-room, which is awesome. And then we have a normal Chromecast out on the TV, and which, by the way, looks beautiful on a 4K TV already. And it's only doing 1080p, obviously. But I'm looking forward to a 4K version. That's an awesome.
You know what is fascinating? The fact that Android TV failed. It didn't work, but Fire TV did.
Times.
But Fire TV did, and Fire TV is essentially just using Android apps. That's all it is. It's Android. So what made Fire TV work?
Amazon. Amazon has great retail presence, and Google doesn't.
Yeah.
The big problem with Google's hardware is like, where do you even buy it? Can you walk into a Best Buy and are there Google phones anywhere?
There was. I believe you could buy the Nexus player at Best Buy. I believe you could. Okay. But
well,
who's walking into Best Buy?
I know. And no one was buying this thing anyway. I have one. You kind of turn it on. You're like, it's a Google version of an Apple TV. Great. Yeah. It just doesn't. It really is unnecessary.
Yeah, it really is. So I'm interested to see what they do with these phones. The pricing thing is a little worrisome for me because I was, what was it? The Nexus 5X was $349, right?
They're talking $649 for this one.
That's a lot,
and that is not okay.
Yeah,
like if that was the price of the higher end one, kind of decked out a little bit, I'd say okay, fine.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
I have a friend. He just bought the OnePlus 3.
Yep.
I believe it's like 349.
Yeah.
And he goes, I absolutely love this phone. It's a flagship phone. It's great. It's as fast as a Samsung S7. It does everything I need it to do. It's super clean, the OS. He's like, I don't know why I would go and lease a phone. He absolutely
Right.
loved it. So there are options, and I really thought Google would be one of those companies that kind of pushes this: purchase your phone flat out, $349. Here you go. But maybe it's the end result of where the market's headed. These devices are just very expensive. $649. Jeez, that's crazy. Paul, one quick
Yes.
thing. Are you using Sierra?
Well, I have Sierra.
Yeah, you have.
Using it is kind of a stretch, but yeah,
What's
it's on my Mac.
So we've discussed Siri and all that, and for a couple of weeks now. But what's your overall, verdict on this?
You know, the past several Mac OS 10 releases have been fairly minor. I mean, I think there are key things that Apple does very, very well. That we still don't see on, say, Windows or wherever else. So for example, they have something called universal copy and paste, which is kind of awesome. This notion that, like, we've done this, right? You're reading something on your phone maybe, and you're like, oh man, I want to get this over on my computer because I want to, in my case, write about it or something. How do you navigate that, right?
Yeah.
Save a bookmark in the browser, and then there's all this like stuff. Like the ability to copy and paste between devices is incredible. So that kind of stuff is really interesting. They added Siri, which is super obvious, and it has, Mac-related functionality that I'm not super interested in, but looks very close to what you would see with Cortana, say, on Windows 10. So that kind of stuff, whatever. But I think the biggest, I look at the Mac to me is not super interesting, as especially the software. I don't find it to be particularly easy to use or whatever, but there are really big benefits for people who are willing to sell their souls and buy into this little walled garden, right? It's like the Stephen Wright joke. I live at the end of a one-way dead-end street, and I now I can't get out. I mean, it's like, that's Apple. It's like it's a beautiful place, but if you can put up with that, if you're going to use an iPad and an iPhone and a Mac, you have to admit, for all of the kind of lock-in type stuff that people on the outside don't like to hear about, there are benefits to it.
Yeah.
And
so that's okay. I do like their they've done a really good job at their cloud integration, and this is something that I've always complained about, is iCloud, and it's kind of crappy. They have done a really good job at that. I started using a little bit more, and it's fine, and it does do placeholders. I don't know if you know that, Paul.
Yes. Yeah, the iCloud. Yeah. No. That's not right. So half the new features in Sierra are things like we've kind of already done.
Yeah.
Elsewhere. Like, yes, it has places.
But it's not bad at all. I mean, it's exactly what the other one was. There's nothing really special. But I wonder what the future of this operating system would be. I mean, do they need to shake things up like Windows did? I don't know if necessarily.
Yeah. So we don't have time for this very lengthy discussion, but I do think about this kind of thing a lot, and there's a pro and a con to it, right? So the one thing Apple users have never had to experience, for better or worse, is the convolution that occurs when your traditional desktop platform is merged with multi-touch and pen and new device types that transform into tablets and all that crazy stuff. It's never happened on the Mac. And so on the one hand, you could say, well, it's kind of limiting. You don't get all this extra functionality. But on the other hand, you kind of say something which actually I find to be very important, which is this notion of the right tool for the job. The Mac has basically turned into like a workstation. It's very clearly aimed at this one style, one way of doing things. And Apple has done a pretty good job of, I would say, adding, it's like features and functionality that clearly debuted on mobile first and were probably rewritten to some degree to work on the Mac, but they're not the same thing, right? So like on Windows 10, the camera app or the Photos app or the Groove Music app, it's the same app, right? That runs on the PC and on mobile. It's the same app. On the Mac, iTunes or Mac Mail, or I'm just trying to think of stuff, whatever it is, Siri probably. Well, actually Siri I don't even know, but the calendar app or whatever, those are actually Those are different apps, right? So you kind of get something that part of it is because of when they were made. Part of it is because of the differences in the platform. I'm sure they share some underlying code. Obviously, iOS and macOS share code and are based on the same next step stuff from 20 years ago, whatever. There were pros to this. I mean, you could say like people really like how Siri works on the phone. Maybe I don't know why, but let's bring it to the Mac. Well, it doesn't have to look and work just like the phone. Like let's adapt it in a way that makes sense on the Mac. And there are benefits to that. I mean, so I'm not a big fan of Mac OS per se, but I over time, as time goes by, I'm starting to think maybe they approach this the right way by not combining them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Curious.
Yeah.
Paul,
it's a big topic.
Here's a great thing. We started early. We could end a little early.
Okay.
Guys, go to our website.
Take a nap.
Yeah. Let's go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. Subscribe to the podcast, please. That is very important that you guys subscribe to the podcast. We have an audio version, an SD version, an HD version. We're everywhere podcasts are available. We are also on YouTube. Go to our YouTube page. Subscribe to our YouTube page as well. All things Paul Thurrott. Go to thurrott.com. Sign up for Thurrott Premium. I highly recommend it. I am a premium subscriber. Subscribe to it. You could join right now. Right now for only $42 for the year. That's right. When you sign up, you get 35% off your first year's subscription. And you get all these awesome things on thurrott.com. Paul, you're traveling next week.
Yes, I am.
And you are going to Ignite. You're going to be in Atlanta.
Yes, I am.
Big trip.
Yeah.
It's a big trip. It is a big trip. So
I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Hopefully I'm not sick.
Yeah.
But
well, I don't think
I haven't been to Atlanta in a while. It's a pretty place.
What are we doing next week? What's the deal?
What are you and I doing?
Yeah. We're not doing anything.
I don't think we're doing anything.
Okay, you know what? We are taking off next week.
Yeah.
Paul and I will be taking off next week. So we'll be back the following week with another What the Tech. We'll see y'all next week. No, I'm lying. The following week. Bye-bye.